Have you ever had a moment in your life where everything you thought you knew just shattered? A single conversation that divided your life into before and after? For some people, it's a diagnosis. For others, it's a loss. For me, it was 4 simple words from the person I trusted most in this world. Just one night, please. They say friendship is about unconditional love, about always being there for each other, no matter what. But what happens when being there means crossing a line you never knew existed? What happens when your best friend asks you for something that could destroy everything you've built together? This is my story. This is the story of Sarah and me. And this is the story of the night that changed both of our lives forever. But to understand that night, you need to understand our beginning. You need to know how deep our bond went, how unbreakable we thought it was. So let me take you back. Back to a time when everything was simpler. Back to the day I met my best friend, August 2009. I was 13 years old, standing in the hallway of Jefferson Middle School with a schedule I didn't understand and a locker combination I'd already forgotten. My family had just moved to this town because of my dad's job. I'd left behind everything familiar, my old school, my old friends, my old neighborhood. I felt like an astronaut who'd been dropped on a new planet without a map or a translator. Lunchtime was the worst. You know that feeling, right? Walking into a cafeteria where everyone already has their groups, their tables, their established friendships, where every seat seems to have an invisible, reserved sign on it. I grabbed my tray, some kind of mystery meat and soggy vegetables, and stood there, scanning the room for any empty table, any possibility of not looking completely pathetic. That's when I heard her voice. Hey, new girl. I turned around, and there she was. Sarah Mitchell, though I didn't know her name yet. I just saw this girl with wild curly hair, pulled into a messy ponytail, wearing a band t-shirt and the biggest smile I'd ever seen. You look lost, she said, walking up to me. First day? I nodded, not trusting my voice. Cool, you can sit with us. I'm Sarah, by the way. Fair warning, though, my friends are kind of weird, but in a good way. She led me to a table where 3 other girls were arguing passionately about which Twilight team was better. Sarah rolled her eyes and whispered, "See what I mean? Weird." But she said it with such affection, such genuine warmth, that I couldn't help but smile. At lunch period, I barely said 10 words. But Sarah made sure to include me in every conversation. She'd turn to me and ask, "What do you think?" She'd explain inside jokes so I wouldn't feel left out. She'd defend me when one of the other girls made a comment about my strange accent. I'm from the South. And apparently, I sounded funny to them. By the time the bell rang, I had Sarah's phone number and plans to meet her before school the next day. That friendship grew so naturally, so organically, that looking back, I can't pinpoint an exact moment when Sarah went from that nice girl from school to my best friend. It just happened. By the end of 8th grade, we were inseparable. We had sleepovers every weekend. We created elaborate inside jokes that made absolutely no sense to anyone else. We made a pact to learn guitar together. We both quit after 2 weeks, but it was fun while it lasted. Freshman year of high school, we both tried out for the school play. Neither of us got a part, but we didn't care. We spent the production as stage crew, painting sets and gossiping about the drama both on stage and off. Sophomore year, Sarah got her first camera, vintage Nikon her grandmother had given her. She became obsessed with photography, and I became her willing subject. She must have taken 1,000 pictures of me that year. Me laughing, me reading, me sleeping during our study sessions. Me mid-bite eating pizza. "You're my muse," she'd say dramatically. And I'd throw a pillow at her. I started writing short stories, and Sarah was always my first reader. She'd give me honest feedback, pointing out plot holes, but also highlighting the parts that made her feel something. "You're going to be a famous author one day," she told me once, completely serious. "And I'm going to photograph your book tours." Junior year was harder. That's when Sarah's parents' marriage started falling apart. I remember the first time she called me crying at midnight. Her parents had just had a massive fight, the kind where things get thrown and terrible things get said. Sarah had locked herself in her room, terrified and heartbroken. "Can I come over?" she asked through her tears. "Of course," I said immediately. She climbed out her window and walked the 6 blocks to my house. My parents, bless them, didn't ask questions. My mom just made hot chocolate while Sarah cried on my shoulder for hours. This became our pattern. Whenever things got bad at her house, she'd come to mine. My room became her sanctuary. My family became her second family. When her parents finally divorced at the end of junior year, I was there for every painful step. The lawyers, the mediation, the horrible decision of choosing which parent to live with primarily. "I don't know what I'd do without you," Sarah told me one night as we lay on my bedroom floor, staring at the glow-in-the-dark stars we'd stuck on my ceiling years ago. "Good thing you'll never have to find out," I replied. Senior year flew by in a blur of college applications, prom preparations, and senioritis. We both got into good schools. Sarah was going to NYU for photography, and I was headed to Boston University for creative writing. The night before we both left for college, we had one last sleepover. We stayed up all night, talking about our fears and excitement for this new chapter. We promised to text every day and call every week. We promised that distance wouldn't change us. "We're going to be friends forever," Sarah said as the sun started to rise. "You know that, right? Like we're going to be old ladies together, sitting on a porch somewhere, still gossiping and laughing about ridiculous things." "Obviously," I said. "Who else would put up with either of us?" We both laughed, not knowing then how prophetic and how painful that conversation would become. College was exactly as challenging and exciting as everyone says it is. New classes, new people, new independence. But through it all, Sarah remained my constant. We texted every single day, just like we promised. Random thoughts, complaints about professors, pictures of our meals, memes that made us think of each other. Our text thread was a continuous conversation that never really ended, just paused when we slept out. Every Friday night, we'd video call. It didn't matter if one of us was at a party or tired from studying, we'd find time. We'd update each other on everything. The cute guy in my English class who turned out to have a girlfriend. The amazing portfolio Sarah was building. The roommate drama. The homesickness. The triumphs and the failures. Thanksgiving break, Christmas break, spring break, summer, we were reunited. And it was like no time had passed at all. We'd fall right back into our rhythm, finishing each other's sentences and laughing at things that weren't even that funny. "Long-distance friendship is working," Sarah said during our sophomore year winter break, as we drove around our hometown looking at Christmas lights. "Did you doubt it would?" I asked. "Maybe a little," she admitted. "Everyone says people drift apart in college. But not us. Never us." But things did start to change, subtly at first. Junior year, Sarah started dating this guy named Alex. He was in her photography program, shared her artistic sensibilities, seemed really into her. She talked about him constantly during our calls. I was happy for her. Really, I was. Sarah deserved someone who appreciated her. But I'd be lying if I said I didn't notice that our Friday night calls started getting shorter. Sometimes she'd cancel because Alex had planned something. Sometimes she'd be distracted during our conversations, texting him while talking to me. I told myself it was normal. It was healthy. She was building a romantic relationship, and those require time and attention. I couldn't expect to be her only priority forever. Still, there was a small part of me that felt left behind. Sarah and Alex dated for about 8 months before it fell apart. Apparently, he'd been seeing someone else on the side. Sarah was devastated. I took a bus to New York that weekend, skipping my own classes to be there for her. We ate ice cream, watched terrible movies, and I let her cry and vent and process her hurt. Why do I pick such terrible guys? She asked at one point. You don't, I assured her. He's terrible. You're not. You just trusted the wrong person. But you'll find someone worthy of you. I know you will. She hugged me tightly. You always know what to say? After graduation, we both moved back home temporarily. The job market was tough, and we both had student loans to consider. We got an apartment together, a tiny, run-down place that we absolutely loved, because it was ours. Those 2 years living together were some of the best of my life. We were struggling working random jobs, applying to opportunities in our fields, eating ramen more nights than we'd like to admit, but we were doing it together. We'd have dance parties in our kitchen at 2 a.m. We'd edit each other's Work My Stories and her photographs. We'd go on adventures around the city with no money, just finding free museums and parks and events. This is it, Sarah said one night as we sat on our fire escape watching the city lights. This is the life I want, just freedom and creativity and people I love. Same, I agreed, though maybe with slightly more money eventually. She laughed. Yeah, that would be nice. Then I got a job offer. A good one, an editorial assistant position at a publishing house in Chicago. It was exactly what I'd been hoping for, the foot in the door I needed, but it meant leaving. It meant leaving Sarah. You have to take it, Sarah said immediately when I told her, even though I could see the sadness in her eyes. This is your dream. You can't pass this up for anything. But what about? I'll be fine, she interrupted. I'm going to stay here, keep freelancing, build my portfolio. We'll visit each other. We've done long distance before. We can do it again. So I moved to Chicago. And Sarah stayed behind. We still texted every day. We still called every week. But it wasn't quite the same as living together, as seeing each other every day. 6 months after I moved, Sarah met Marcus. She met him at a gallery opening where her work was being displayed. He was a finance guy, completely different from the artistic types she usually dated. He wore expensive suits, drove a nice car, and had the kind of confidence that comes from success. He's so different from anyone I've ever dated, Sarah told me during one of our calls. But maybe that's good. Maybe I need different. Over the next few months, she talked about Marcus more and more. How he'd taken her to this expensive restaurant. How he'd surprised her with flowers at work. How he'd introduced her to his family already. It all seemed to be moving so fast, but Sarah seemed happy. So I was happy for her. When I finally met Marcus, they flew to Chicago for a weekend visit. I tried to like him. I really did. He was charming, certainly, well-spoken, successful, but there was something about the way he interacted with Sarah that bothered me. Something I couldn't quite put my finger on. The way he'd order for her at restaurants without asking what she wanted. The way he'd interrupt her stories to correct minor details. The way he'd make little comments about her appearance. You're wearing that? Disguised as jokes. After they left, I called Sarah. So, what do you think of Marcus? She asked eagerly. I hesitated. He seems nice. Do you love him? I think so, she said. I mean, he treats me really well. He's stable and successful. He's everything I should want, you know. Should want, I repeated. But do you want him? There was a pause. Why are you asking me that? I just want to make sure you're happy, Sarah. Really, truly happy. I am, she said, but her voice had an edge to it. Why wouldn't I be? I dropped it, but the uneasy feeling remained. A year into their relationship, Marcus proposed. Sarah called me immediately, squealing with excitement. "I'm getting married. Can you believe it? And you have to be my maid of honor. Please say yes." What could I say but yes? The engagement period was intense. Sarah was consumed with wedding planning. Every conversation became about venues and flowers and whether to have a band or a DJ. Marcus had strong opinions about everything, and Sarah seemed to defer to him on most decisions. I watched my independent, creative, free-spirited best friend slowly transform into someone I barely recognized. She quit her freelance photography because Marcus said she needed to focus on being a wife and eventually get a real job. She started dressing differently, talking differently, even laughing differently. "Sarah," I said during one of our calls, about 3 months before the wedding, "are you sure about this? You don't seem like yourself lately. What's that supposed to mean?" She snapped, "I just mean you've changed, and I'm not sure it's for the better." "People grow up," she said coldly. "Maybe you should try it." That hurt. We didn't talk for 2 weeks after that, the longest we'd gone without speaking since we'd met. She finally called to apologize. "I'm sorry. I'm just stressed with the wedding planning." I didn't mean what I said. "It's okay," I said, even though it wasn't entirely. 2 months before the wedding, she called me at 2 a.m. I answered immediately, my heart pounding with worry. "I don't know if I can do this," she sobbed. "I don't know if I can marry him." For the next 3 hours, we talked. Really talked like we used to. She confessed her doubts, her fears, her feeling that she was making a huge mistake, but didn't know how to stop the momentum. "Do you love him?" I asked directly. I care about him. That's not what I asked." Long pause. "I don't know." "How do you know if you really love someone? How do you know if it's enough?" "Sarah, if you have to ask that question 2 months before your wedding, that's your answer." More crying. "But everyone's coming. The deposits are all paid. His family, my family, everyone's so excited. How could I disappoint everyone?" "What about disappointing yourself?" I asked gently. "What about waking up in 10 years, 20 years, and realizing you married the wrong person? Isn't that worse than a canceled wedding?" She didn't have an answer. "You don't have to marry him," I continued. "I know it feels like you do, but you don't. You always have a choice." We talked until the sun came up. By the end of the call, she seemed calmer, more settled. "Thank you," she said, "for being honest with me, for always being honest with me." "That's what best friends do," I replied. But then, 2 weeks later, something changed. Sarah seemed to have made peace with the wedding. She was calm, almost serene. The doubts seemed to have vanished. I thought maybe she'd worked through her fears. Maybe she'd talked to Marcus, and they'd resolved whatever was bothering her. Maybe I'd been wrong to doubt their relationship, had no idea what was really going through her mind. I had no idea what was coming out. It was a Friday evening, 1 week before the wedding. I'd flown in from Chicago for the final preparations. The rehearsal dinner was in 2 days. The bachelorette party was tomorrow night, but my phone buzzed with a text from Sarah. "Can you come over?" Just us, like old times. "I need my best friend tonight." I drove to her apartment, the one she now shared with Marcus, though he was apparently out of town for a bachelor party. When she opened the door, she looked different, vulnerable in a way I hadn't seen in a long time. "Hey," she said softly, pulling me into a hug that lasted just a beat longer than normal. "Hey yourself," I replied. "You okay?" "Yeah, I wanted to spend time with you before everything gets crazy with the wedding." Her apartment was different from the one we'd shared. More mature, more expensive, but somehow less alive. Everything was perfectly coordinated, perfectly placed. It didn't feel like Sarah at all. We settled on her couch with mugs of chamomile tea, her favorite, the one I'd introduced her to years ago. For a while, we just talked. Easy conversation, like slipping into a warm bath. We reminisced about our middle school days, our terrible fashion choices, our first crushes. Remember when we thought we were going to start a band? Sarah laughed. We didn't even know how to play instruments. Hey, we learned 3 chords on guitar before we gave up. That counts for something. We were terrible. The worst, I agreed, and we both dissolved into laughter. For a moment, it was like we traveled back in time. Like we were just 2 girls with no complications, no distance, no secrets. But then the laughter faded, and something shifted in the air. Sarah's expression turned serious. She set down her mug and turned to face me fully. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course, anything." She took a deep breath. "Do you remember in college, when we made that pact? That we'd always be completely honest with each other, no matter what. No secrets, no lies, just truth?" "Yeah, I remember. Do you still believe in that?" I felt a knot forming in my stomach, though I didn't know why. Yes, honesty is important to me, especially with you. She nodded slowly, her eyes glistening with tears she was clearly trying to hold back. "I need to tell you something. I need to be honest with you about something I've been hiding for a very long time. And I need you to please not hate me." My heart started racing. "Sarah, you're scaring me." "What is it? What's wrong?" She looked at me with such intensity, such raw emotion, that I felt my breath catch in my throat. "I'm gay," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've known for years. Since college, maybe even before. But I've been too terrified to admit it. Too afraid of what my family would think, what my friends would think, what the world would think." I sat there, frozen, processing. This wasn't what I'd expected, but it also made sense. Little moments from over the years, suddenly clicking into place with this new context. "Okay," I said carefully. "Okay, Sarah, thank you for trusting me with this." I know that couldn't have been easy to say. She let out a shaky breath. "There's more. Marcus is safe," she continued, tears now flowing freely down her face. "He's what everyone expects. He's what my parents wanted for me. He's conventional and acceptable and straight. I thought if I just tried hard enough, if I just committed to the role, I could be happy. I could be normal. But I can't," she sobbed. "I can't marry him. I can't spend the rest of my life pretending to be someone I'm not. I can't keep lying, not to him, not to myself, and especially not to you." I moved closer, instinctively wanting to comfort her. "Then don't. Sarah, you don't have to marry him. You can call it off. Yes, it'll be hard and messy and complicated, but it's better than living a lie." She grabbed my hands, holding them tightly. I know I need to call it off. But there's something else I need to tell you. Something that's even harder to say." The knot in my stomach tightened. "What is it?" She looked directly into my eyes, and in that moment, I saw something I'd never noticed before. Or maybe I had noticed it, but never understood what it meant. "The person I'm in love with," she said, her voice shaking. "The reason I can't marry Marcus. The reason I've been so conflicted and confused and miserable. It's you." Time seemed to stop. The room was so quiet I could hear both of our hearts beating, both of our ragged breathing. "I'm in love with you," Sarah continued, her words tumbling out in a desperate rush now that the dam had broken. "I have been for years. Maybe since that first day in the cafeteria, I don't know. But definitely by college. Definitely by the time we lived together." I couldn't speak. Couldn't move. Couldn't think. Every guy I dated, I was trying to replace these feelings, she went on. Every relationship was an attempt to convince myself I wasn't in love with my best friend. Marcus was supposed to be the final solution. I thought if I married him, if I committed fully to a straight life, these feelings would go away. But they haven't. They've only gotten stronger. She was crying so hard now she could barely speak. And I know this is unfair. I know this is terrible timing. I know I should have told you years ago. But I can't marry Marcus without you knowing the truth. I can't spend the rest of my life wondering what if. I can't live with not knowing if there was ever any possibility. She squeezed my hands tighter. Just one night, she whispered. Just one night to see if there could be something between us. To see if you could ever feel the same way. To see if these years of friendship meant something more to you too. Even if you didn't realize it, please, I'm begging you. I stared at her, this person I'd known for over a decade. This person I'd shared everything with, and felt like I was seeing a stranger. Or maybe I was seeing her clearly for the first time, and realizing how blind I'd been. How many moments between us had I misread? How many lingering glances had I dismissed? How many times had she said, "I love you," and meant something entirely different than what I thought? That time in college when she got jealous of my boyfriend, was that really about feeling left out? Or was it something more? Those nights we'd fall asleep, cuddled together during sleepovers. Had I been oblivious to what that meant to her? All those photographs she'd taken of me over the years, was I really just a muse? Or was it something deeper? My mind was racing, cycling through years of memories and reinterpreting them through this new lens. And underneath all of that, one burning question. How did I feel about her? I wish I could tell you I had an immediate answer. I wish I could say I knew, with complete certainty, exactly what I felt and what I should do. But the truth is, I was overwhelmed. I gently pulled my hands away from Sarah's, needing physical space to think. She looked devastated by even that small withdrawal, and I felt a pang of guilt. "I need you to give me a minute," I said quietly, "to process this. Please." She nodded, wiping her tears, trying to compose herself. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city lights, but not really seeing them. My mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. Confusion. How had I never known? How had I missed this? Shock my best friend was in love with me. My straight best friend, or who I thought was straight, was actually gay and in love with me. Grief for the friendship I thought we had, which was apparently built on her hidden truth and unspoken feelings. Compassion for the pain she must have been in all these years. Loving someone who didn't know, hiding her true self from everyone. Preparing to marry someone she didn't love just to maintain an acceptable facade. Guilt had I somehow led her on without meaning to? Had I been too affectionate, too close, too intimate in ways that gave her false hope? And beneath all of that, the question I couldn't immediately answer, did I have any romantic feelings for Sarah? I made myself honestly examine this. I loved her, absolutely. She was one of the most important people in my life. But was I in love with her? Was I attracted to her in that way? I thought about kissing her. My immediate reaction was discomfort. Not disgust, but discomfort. It felt wrong, like kissing a sister. I thought about being with her romantically. And I just couldn't picture it. When I imagined my romantic future, it had never included Sarah in that role. I'd never questioned my sexuality. I'd always been attracted to men. I'd never felt that spark with women, including Sarah. But even if there was some possibility, I could develop feelings for her. Was this the right way to explore that? She was asking me to be part of what amounted to an affair. She was still engaged to Marcus. Whatever my feelings, participating in this would make me complicit in hurting someone else. I turned back to face her. She was sitting on the couch, looking small and vulnerable and terrified. "Sarah," I began, my voice gentle but firm, "I need you to understand something first." She looked up at me with desperate hope mixed with crushing fear. "I love you," I continued. "You're my best friend. You've been my best friend for over a decade. That's not a small thing. That's one of the most important relationships in my life. But," she whispered, already hearing the rejection in my tone, "but I've never thought of you romantically," I said as gently as I could. "I've never been attracted to women, and I've never seen you as anything other than my friend. My very dear, very important friend, but my friend." Her face crumpled, and I felt my heart breaking for her. "Even if I were questioning my sexuality," I continued, needing to say everything, "even if there was some possibility of romantic feelings, this wouldn't be the right way to explore them. You're engaged to someone else. You're asking me to be part of something that would hurt Marcus, hurt you, and potentially destroy our friendship forever." I sat back down next to her, maintaining a careful distance. "That's not love, Sarah. That's desperation. That's you trying to use me as an escape route instead of doing the hard work of actually confronting your life and making real changes." She was sobbing now, her whole body shaking. "I know. God, I know you're right. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have asked. I shouldn't have put you in this position. I'm drowning. I've been drowning for years, and I thought maybe you could save me." "I can't save you," I said, my own eyes filling with tears now. "As much as I wish I could, I can't. But I can tell you the truth, and the truth is this. You need to save yourself. You need to call off this wedding," I continued. "Not for me, not because of any possibility of us being together, but for you. You deserve to live an authentic life. You deserve to be with someone you actually love, someone who makes your heart race, someone you can't wait to wake up next to every morning. Marcus isn't that person. You know he isn't." She nodded through her tears. "I know. I've known for a long time. I'm just so scared." "Of what?" "Of everything," she admitted. "Of disappointing my parents. Of what people will think. Of being alone. Of starting over. Of admitting that I've wasted years of my life running from who I really am." I reached out and gently took her hand again. "Those are all valid fears. Coming out is scary. Canceling a wedding is scary. Facing the judgment of people you love is scary. But you know what's scarier? Spending the next 50 years living a lie. Waking up at 60 years old and realizing you never lived your truth. That's the real tragedy. What about us?" she asked in a small voice, looking at me with so much vulnerability it hurt. "What happens to our friendship after this? Can we come back from this?" It was a fair question. And honestly, I didn't know the answer. Could we go back to how things were? Could I unhear what she'd told me? Could she untangle her romantic feelings from our friendship? Could we rebuild trust after years of her hiding such a fundamental truth? I didn't know, but I knew what she needed to hear in that moment. "I'll always care about you, Sarah," I said truthfully. "You'll always be important to me. But our friendship needs to be built on honesty, not hidden feelings and unspoken truths. If we're going to continue being friends, and I hope we can, you need to be honest with yourself first. About who you are, what you want, and what you need to do." "And if I call off the wedding?" she asked. "If I come out, will you be there for me?" I thought about it, really thought about it. "Yes," I said finally. "I'll be there. Not as someone who's trying to be with you romantically, but as your friend. Because despite everything, despite this awkwardness and complication, I still care about you. And friends support each other through hard times. This is going to be a hard time." She threw her arms around me, holding me tight. Thank you. Thank you for being honest with me. Thank you for not hating me. Thank you for still being my friend. I hugged her back, feeling the weight of everything that had just transpired. You should probably go, she said after a moment, pulling back. I need to think. I need to figure out how to do this. Call me if you need anything, I said, standing up. Anytime, day or night. I mean that. As I drove back to my hotel that night, I cried. For Sarah, for the pain she'd been in. For our friendship, which would never be quite the same. For the complicated messages of love and identity and truth. But I also felt a strange sense of peace. I'd been honest. I'd been compassionate. I'd set boundaries while still showing love. I'd done the right thing, even though it was the hard thing. The next 2 days were agonizing. Sarah didn't call, didn't text. I didn't know if she was okay, if she'd made a decision, if she regretted our conversation. The bachelorette party happened without me. Sarah's sister texted to say it had been canceled, which I took as a potential sign that Sarah was making her decision. Then, 3 days after our conversation, my phone rang at 6 a.m. It was Sarah. I did it, she said, her voice hoarse from crying. I called it off. I told Marcus last night. I told him I couldn't marry him, that I'd been lying to him and to myself. How did he take it? Badly, really badly. He yelled, he cried, he asked if there was someone else. I told him the truth, that there isn't someone else, but that I'm gay and I can't live a lie anymore. He called me terrible things, she continued, her voice breaking. He said I'd wasted his time, ruined his life, humiliated him. Maybe he's right. Maybe I'm a terrible person. You're not a terrible person, I said firmly. You made a mistake, yes. You should have been honest with him earlier. But you're fixing it now, before you made an even bigger mistake. That takes courage. I told my parents this morning, she said. I told them I'm gay and the wedding is off. And? Mom cried. Dad got quiet, which is somehow worse. My sister hugged me and said she'd suspected for a while. My brother, I don't know. He didn't say much. I'm proud of you, I told her. I know this is the hardest thing you've ever done. But you did it. You chose yourself. You chose truth. Will you come over? She asked. I know I have no right to ask after everything, but I could really use a friend right now. I'm on my way, I said without hesitation. I spent that entire day with Sarah. We didn't talk much. I just sat with her while she cried, held her when she needed to be held, made her tea and toast, even though she barely ate anything. Her phone kept ringing Marcus. Her parents, friends wondering what happened. She ignored most of them. She'd deal with it all eventually, but right now, she just needed to breathe. Thank you for being here, she said that evening as the sun was setting. Thank you for not abandoning me. I told you I'd be here, I replied. I meant it. The next few weeks were brutal for Sarah. The gossip, the questions, the judgment. Some friends stood by her. Others disappeared. Her mother eventually came around, but it took time. Her father still wasn't speaking to her. Marcus spread his version of the story, that Sarah had cheated, that she'd been leading him on the whole time, that she was unstable. Some people believed him, but Sarah held her head high. She started seeing a therapist to work through years of internalized homophobia and self-denial. She joined an LGBTQ support group. She slowly started building an authentic life, and I was there for it all, as I'd promised. As her friend, about a month after the canceled wedding, Sarah asked if we could talk. I need to apologize, she said. Really apologize, not just for asking you for that night, but for everything. For not being honest with you about my feelings for all these years. for letting you think we had one kind of friendship when I was experiencing something completely different. That wasn't fair to you. Thank you for saying that, I replied. It's been hard, processing everything, wondering if our entire friendship was built on something false. It wasn't, she said earnestly. My feelings for you were romantic, yes, but the friendship was real. The love was real, even if it was different kinds of love. You really are my best friend. That was never a lie. I believed her, and slowly, carefully, we started rebuilding our friendship on a new foundation, one of complete honesty. Sarah made some big changes over the next year. She moved to Portland, Oregon, a fresh start in a city known for being LGBTQ friendly. She started her own photography business, focusing on LGBTQ weddings and events. She finally got to live as her authentic self. I should have done this years ago, she told me during one of our video calls. I feel like I can finally breathe. She started dating women. The first few relationships were tentative, uncertain. She was figuring out what she wanted, what felt right. There were some failed first dates, some brief flings that didn't go anywhere. And then she met Jade. Jade was a high school art teacher with an infectious laugh and kind eyes. She was patient with Sarah's lingering insecurities and fears. She celebrated Sarah's photography and encouraged her creativity. She was everything Marcus hadn't been: supportive, equal, genuinely interested in Sarah's happiness. When Sarah talked about Jade, her whole face lit up in a way I'd never seen before. Not with Alex, not with Marcus, not with anyone. This is what it's supposed to feel like, she told me one day. I get it now. I understand why people write love songs and poems and make grand romantic gestures. I've never felt this way about anyone. She paused and added carefully, not even you. What I felt for you was real, but it was also tangled up with so many other things: safety, familiarity, escape. This, with Jade, is different. It's clearer. It's healthier. I was genuinely happy for her. I'm so glad you found this, Sarah. You deserve it. As for our friendship, it evolved. We didn't talk every day anymore. Sometimes we'd go weeks without a proper conversation. But when we did talk, it was meaningful. The awkwardness gradually faded, replaced by a new kind of comfort, the comfort of two people who'd been through something difficult together and come out the other side. We saw each other in person a few times a year. I visited her in Portland. She visited me in Chicago. It wasn't like the old days. We both knew it couldn't be, but it was good. It was real. Sarah was thriving. She'd found her community, her passion, her person. She'd built the life she'd always needed, but had been too afraid to reach for. And I had learned something too. I'd learned that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is tell them no. That boundaries aren't a sign of not caring. They're often a sign of caring deeply but wisely. I'd also learned that friendships can survive almost anything if both people are committed to honesty and growth. Our friendship didn't look like it used to, but in some ways, it was stronger. It was built on truth now, not on unspoken feelings and hidden identities. 2 years after that night, I got an invitation in the mail. It was a wedding invitation. Sarah and Jade were getting married. I called Sarah immediately. Congratulations. I'm so happy for you. Thank you, she said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. I want you to be there. I know that might be weird, given everything, but you're important to me. You'll always be important to me. I'll be there, I said without hesitation, and I was. The wedding was beautiful, small, and intimate, held in a garden with only their closest friends and family. Sarah wore a suit instead of a dress and looked more herself than I'd ever seen her. Jade wore a flowing white gown and couldn't stop looking at Sarah with pure adoration. During the reception, Sarah pulled me aside. Thank you, she said. For what? For that night 2 years ago. For telling me the truth instead of what I wanted to hear. For setting boundaries. For being my friend even when it was complicated. I wouldn't be here, wouldn't have this life, if you hadn't forced me to confront myself. I hugged her. You did the hard work, Sarah. You chose courage over comfort. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of me too, she said, and laughed. Is that allowed? To be proud of yourself? Absolutely, I said. You earned it. As I watched her dance with Jade later that night, I thought about everything we'd been through. The years of friendship, the secrets, the confession, the pain, the growth, the rebuilding. Our story didn't have a traditional happy ending. We weren't best friends in the same way we used to be. We'd never go back to those days of living together and sharing everything, but we'd both grown. We'd both learned. We'd both chosen authenticity over comfort, truth over pretense. And in its own way. That was a happy ending. Sometimes love means letting go of what you thought a relationship should be and accepting what it actually is. Sometimes friendship means saying no with compassion. Sometimes the greatest gift you can give someone is the truth, even when, especially when it's hard. Sarah and I are still friends. We probably always will be, in some form. Our story isn't simple or perfect, but it's real. And maybe that's what matters most.